The rain on New Terra fell differently than Earth rain, heavier, more metallic, carrying trace elements of the planet's unique atmospheric composition. All are huddled beneath the corrugated overhang of a defunct fusion cell depot, her tattered thermal blanket doing little against the cold. Pedestrians hurried past, their umbrellas creating a forest of synthetic polymer shields, their eyes carefully averted from the pale, gaunt figure pressed against the wall. She looked human enough at first glance. 2 arms, 2 legs, a face that followed the general bilateral symmetry of Terran mammals. But the subtle wrongness was there for anyone who looked closely. The faint iridescence of her skin under certain light frequencies, the way her pupils contracted into vertical slits when emergency sirens wailed, the barely perceptible gills that fluttered at her neck when she breathed deeply. No one looked closely. Alexander Chen adjusted his neural interface as he walked, scrolling through the day's logistics reports for the Interspecies Settlement Bureau. The numbers were grim. 3 more refugee ships had arrived from the Outer Reach, carrying survivors from systems devastated by the Convergence War. Housing was at capacity, medical supplies were running low, and political tensions between human settlers and the various alien species were reaching critical mass. His augmented reality display highlighted priority alerts, but he dismissed them with practiced eye movements. He'd deal with the crises when he reached the office. For now, he was just another bureaucrat trying to get through the morning commute. He almost didn't stop. Something made him pause. Maybe the algorithmic pattern recognition subroutines running in his implant, maybe simple human curiosity. The woman beneath the overhang was staring directly at him with eyes that seemed to pierce through the morning fog, through his corporate attire, through the carefully constructed walls he'd built around himself after 15 years in humanitarian work. Spare credits for food. Her voice was rough from disuse, but there was something else beneath it, an accent that didn't match any of the major refugee populations, a cadence that suggested formal education. Alexander's hand moved toward his credit chip, an automatic gesture he'd performed thousands of times. But instead of tapping a standard donation, he crouched down, bringing himself to eye level. "When did you eat last?" Orla blinked, surprised. No one asked. They gave or didn't give, but they never asked. 2 days, she said. Maybe 3. Time becomes difficult. The neural interface in Alexander's occipital lobe was already running analysis. Malnutrition indicators positive, signs of advanced hypothermia, chemical markers suggesting her biology required trace minerals not found in standard refugee rations. His bureaucrat's mind calculated costs, processing times, the 17 different forms required to get emergency medical assistance for an undocumented alien. "There's a medical clinic 4 blocks north," he said, standing. "Tell them Chen sent you. They'll—" "I can't." Orla's voice carried sudden intensity. "The biometric scanners, if they log my genetic signature into the system." Alexander frowned. Paranoia was common among refugees, especially those fleeing war crimes or persecution. The clinic has privacy protocols. Medical data is protected under the New Terra Convention. "You don't understand." She pulled the thermal blanket tighter, and Alexander noticed the geometric patterns woven into its fabric, definitely not standard issue. "I'm not afraid of your authorities finding me. I'm afraid of them finding me." Every instinct told Alexander to walk away. He had 247 cases on his desk, each representing real people with real problems he actually had the authority to solve. This woman was probably suffering from trauma-induced delusions, like so many others who'd watched their worlds burn. But those eyes, there was something in those eyes. "Who's looking for you?" Orla laughed, a sound like breaking glass. "Everyone. No one, does it matter? I am Orla Vexthari, 7th daughter of the crystalline throne, heir apparent to the luminal dynasty that once stretched across 43 star systems. And I am no one, a ghost, a story, a princess who died when the palace ships fell." Alexander's neural interface immediately began cross-referencing. The luminal dynasty. one of the oldest spacefaring civilizations, known for their mastery of exotic matter and quantum navigation. Status: destroyed during the Convergence War. Royal family: confirmed dead when the throne world of Lumina Prime was converted to stellar plasma by antimatter weapons. Survivors: 0. The official records were clear. The luminal royal bloodline was extinct. The luminal dynasty fell 8 years ago, Alexander said carefully. Everyone knows that. Everyone knows we died, Orla corrected. But my father saw the fleet coming. He had contingency protocols, escape pods equipped with quantum displacement drives, each carrying a member of the royal family to random coordinates across known space. He believed if we scattered, at least some of us might survive to rebuild. She pulled aside her blanket, revealing a patch of skin on her forearm that seemed to contain shifting galaxies, miniature stars swirling in fractal patterns. This is the royal mark, the genetic encoding that proves bloodline authenticity. It's why I can't let anyone scan me. The Convergence has hunters specifically tasked with finding survivors like me. They want to ensure the complete erasure of the old dynasties. Alexander's rational mind supplied a dozen explanations. Sophisticated tattoo technology, delusional disorder, elaborate scam. But the patterns in her skin moved in ways that violated basic physics, light bending around impossible geometries, wavelengths that shouldn't exist outside laboratory conditions. Why not go to the Galactic Refugee Council? He asked. If you're really who you claim, they'd grant you protected status, maybe even help you. Help me what? Orla interrupted. Reclaim a throne that doesn't exist, rebuild an empire from ashes. My people are gone, Alexander Chen. The Convergence didn't just destroy our planets. They erased our culture, our language, our genetic legacy. I am the last. And if I die, 10,000 years of civilization dies with me. A public transport shuttle roared overhead, its anti-gravity engines leaving ionization trails. Pedestrians continued flowing past, an endless river of humanity and post-humanity, none of them aware they were stepping around living history. So you choose this, Alexander gestured at the depot, the street, the rain. Hiding, freezing. I choose survival. Orla's voice hardened. Every day I'm alive is a day the Convergence hasn't won completely. Every breath is an act of rebellion against those who would erase us from existence. Alexander's comm chimed. Urgent meeting, budget crisis, the usual emergencies. He should leave. This wasn't his jurisdiction, wasn't his problem. Even if her story was true, and that was a massive if, he was just a mid-level bureaucrat with no authority to grant asylum to disputed royalty. But he thought about the reports on his desk, the endless stream of refugees reduced to numbers and statistics. How many of them carried similar stories? How many kings and scientists and artists were filing past right now, their identities compressed into alphanumeric case files? I have a spare room, Alexander heard himself say. Small, probably not what you're accustomed to, but it's warm and safe. No biometric scanners, no official records. You can stay until you figure out what comes next. Orla stared at him, and for the first time since the palace ships fell, she felt something she'd thought extinct along with her people. Hope. Why would you do this? She whispered. You don't know me. You don't owe me anything. Alexander thought about the question. Thought about the 15 years he'd spent processing paperwork while people suffered. Thought about the moment when bureaucracy became a shield against actually caring, actually seeing the individuals behind the statistics. Because someone should know, he said finally. Someone should bear witness that the luminal dynasty didn't end with fire and plasma, but with a princess who chose to survive, even if it's just me. She took his offered hand, her skin cool and strange against his palm. Around them, the city continued its morning rhythm, thousands of beings pursuing their small purposes, never knowing that history had just changed direction in a forgotten corner beneath a rusty overhang. The rain fell, the crowds flowed, and somewhere in the vast archives of the Interspecies Settlement Bureau, a mid-level bureaucrat filed a personal note that would never appear in official records. Case unlisted, princess found. humanity maintained. No one passed by the homeless alien woman anymore. She had finally been seen.